please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Vice Hill.
Here.
Blair. Treasurer Krueger. Trustee Appy. Here. Trustee Newton. Yes.
On to number one, Chief Kaczynski.
Brian.
So for, hello, can you hear me? Jason?
It's coming through.
That's it? Is it?
Hello.
No, that brings my ear bell.
Hello? Neither.
I mean, I'm showing,
Change the battery in this?
I'm showing audio coming through on your end on
Hello,
actually.
Y'all can't hear us.
hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
Just
there,
wanted to
so-
precursor this, is everybody on?
I don't see.
No, there's no one online.
So, I just want to precursor this, with this is, one of two meetings that we're required to have, for the police and then the fire EMS budgets. This is, the township's board first look at this, these budgets as proposed. So we'll let, Chief Kaczynski, this is your first budget. Go right ahead.
Okay, so I gave you all a packet there. On the first page is the, our proposal for the 2025-2026 budget revenues, which is the income side of it. You can see there at the start, in the 24-25 column is the current budget. And then our proposal for the 2025-2026 budget. And we'll just start with the first line there, the estimated fund balance. You can see our carryover for the 2025-2026 is $124,402. And then the special assess is going to remain at 2.39 mils, which is a total of $922,612. For a subtotal of $1,048,014 for that, and then jumping down to the NJTC funds will be $2,000 for 2025-2026. That's an increase from 24-25 due to an additional officer.
Let me stop you. So can you explain to the audience what the NJTC fund is?
That's a 302 funding that we get from the state, and it's based on the amount of full-time equivalents that you have.
They said for the additional officer, can you explain it's not truly an additional officer, was in preparation?
Right.
Obviously,
It was anticipation of Chief Hill's retirement. We had another officer that we put on staff so that we were fully staffed once Chief Hill had retired. And that's where that additional money is coming from.
to be staffed, obviously full-time in the summer ready to go.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Now I messed you up.
No, you didn't. So, the next line there is the school resource officer, which is showing $73,881, and that includes officer salary and wages and benefits as well. Which we have a grant through the state that covers 75% of the wages, and we contribute the other 25% with an agreement through the schools. Liquor inspections predicted at $1,800. That's also through the state that they pay us to do the liquor inspections on the establishments that have a liquor license within the township. Cost recovery fees is through the insurance companies that we get, predicting $500 for that. And that is for a non-resident driver if they're involved in an accident within Garrett Township. We can submit cost recovery through the insurance companies to, recover some wages on that. $200 for impound fees. We occasionally impound vehicles from, traffic stops or accidents in our impound lot and, collect a fee for that. Reports, police reports, looking at $450 on that line. And then, interest and dividends earnings, predicting 18,000. And, I don't know, Larry's not here right now, and I know we're still waiting on some other interests and things like that, but we have not added that into this at all. So, that's where we're at with that line. And, you can see from 24 to 25, and the proposed budget for 2025 to 2026, they're, pretty close, within, $1,400 or so. So the next page there is the,
Before you do that, just also for the audience, it's terrible that I know enough about this budget. I just want to make sure everybody understands this. These are historical data that you're able to draw from, and we are predicting 18 months out, this budget, not 12 months. Because of the type of fund revenue that it is, we have to do 18 months ahead. And so when he tells you cost of recovery and impound fees, these are very conservative prices. Amounts that come into play. You hope that they're better than that, but you sure don't budget more than that because they quite simply put are based on history and go ahead.
so the next page there is the, assumption worksheet for the, revenue side of it. I'm gonna take a look at that. If you have any questions, you can get an answer.
Year 3 of contract for SRO, yeah. Who is it? Third year, yes, third year. Any discussions yet in the future of that continuing in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, I have spoken to the superintendent. She's not sure if that grant's going to be available in the future. Yep. However, she did advise me that she can use some additional funds from somewhere else and gotten them storing them. And looking at possibly, renewing the SRO position, and they would pay the 75%. We would do the additional 25%. Like that, but it wouldn't be through the grant, it would be strictly through the schools.
So they feel like we're seeing the value of the contract that they're willing to pay 75%.
Yes.
As in the past for that service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they see a great value.
Thank you. Lauren?
No, I'm glad to hear that though.
Yeah,
I would hate to see that go away at this point, just because there's not a grant funding for it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So the next,
You're good on the revenue pieces? Oh, we look at the budget.
so the next page there is the expenses sheet, and that would include a 5% COLA increase, which we did a wage study in 2023 of May that showed that we're behind current departments by 10%.
Will you say that again?
In May of 2023, we did a wage
Okay.
study with other area departments, and we ended up doing an average, and we're down from our last wage study, which was, I think, a couple of years before that, and we had fallen behind by 10% at that time.
Part of what's happening on that recruiting and retention is people are in a war for officers because nobody is going into it anymore. Academies are short. So you're getting almost into a bidding war between existing officers from different places. Who, if you're not staying competitive, you then find yourself well short. As you all know, I'm gonna help you out a little bit more. I got to get the for well over a year, we had been, for 3.5 years, we were down one full position due to that, which precipitated the request for the study. Did the study throughout the highs, throughout the low, and, kind of concentrated on the pieces in between and in the near area here regionally, not compared to downstate. You could still cross, US 10 down there and get about 30 million more a year for the same position. And so it was in balance. The problem was is you can't get 10% in a year.
Right.
Last year, if you recall, I had come in and requested the 5, still doing it under the same millage, but we found other funding, the school resource officer funding and things like that to help backfill rather than taxing people. And so this year would be the other 5 that we were short from the 10,
Okay.
for them to get what I'll say somewhat back up. I don't know what the current
As soon
contract
as you get
status.
caught up, it probably gets behind again. That's kind of what it happens, yeah.
That's what I'm anticipating.
Yeah.
I plan on doing another one in May of 2025
Yeah.
to see where we're at, but I mean, probably anticipating that we're gonna be down. I'm not sure if it'll be 10%, maybe it might be more, maybe it might be less, but
Yeah, those are hourly wages. They're considering all benefit structure. They're considering also and we haven't got to the point of signing bonuses yet. Hopefully we'll be able to stem that off, but at the same time, it's just getting to just be a bidding war out there. We're losing officers and we were losing officers. We have now not been losing officers at the rate certainly we were. So,
and
So that explains
that
that 5%.
here. Yes. Additional question, we would like to look at that.
I know it's the service industry all over, as far as police, fire, all of them.
so
So if you want, we can go line by line if you want, or if you just want to look it over and if you have any questions.
yeah, I don't feel the need to, but I can look it over. If you have any individual questions, certainly ask them of you between now and the August session.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Or do you
that
wanna
sounds
go
good.
line by line? I don't.
no, that's fine, that would be absolutely fine.
There's another comment to that too, for the audience, because there's a couple out there that I know have not probably sat through these before. There are what they call capital equipment money in there, that covers patrol car purchases on a cyclical cycle, if you will. And that is at 122,454 on the proposal. And then capital projects, which is anything that could go wrong, that would go wrong with a 25-year-old or better building right now that they have. Although we've done quite a bit of it over there, but we're trying to rebuild that capital project to be able to not have to suddenly say I need $120,000. It's back up to 60 now in his proposal, which I think is, both of those I think are pretty healthy looking at the past. When you look at past cost histories and where they're at with the building next door. He does have an original air conditioner over there that I.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Certainly is.
Some of those things that you're talking about are,
Yes,
our furnaces, for the entire building. There's
Yeah.
2 of them for the building itself, and then we have 2 furnaces in the garage also that are 25 years old. The AC unit, well, or septic, it has to be replaced at any time. Hot water tank, heater and bladder, and those types of things.
those are all 25 years old.
Yeah.
They've done great service for us, but really.
But I mean, luckily we've been told our furnace is in good shape and it's a somewhat healthy furnace, so hopefully that don't have to be replaced anytime soon.
For the board, if you go to 979 under capital projects, that's right exactly what he's reading from. It's the next page at the bottom. Here's the,
I know,
I'm talking to Mary Jo. She's
Oh, no.
next page, third page.
Okay.
Yep. So make sure you go down at the bottom.
Oh, down there, yeah.
Line 978 and 979. One of the other things he didn't know, what's noted in here, he did note it at the work session publicly that there's going to be a required, essentially a portable radio replacement. Federal government has said that by 2029, that all will be encrypted. He's gotta start saving some money. The last time we replaced all of our radios, it was about $55,000. So he's gotta start saving now in subsequent budgets to try and come up with what surely will be 75,000, I'm sure, by the time that rolls around again. Those are portable handheld radios and patrol car radios.
With the increase in repetitive fees. Is that, I mean, you guys count. If you've got that as repetitive fees and maintenance, so what is your maintenance in there? I'm curious, like, is that,
Oh.
is that your,
Get back to the-
Which
You only do
what,
It's not, if you go down here, there's a line on your revenue sheets, budget assumption. There at the bottom, you will see excess revenue to expense, if you will. And when you look at all of those things, those have all gone up, right? In those pieces, and then also on the very back part, you are listed $28,260. The chief is giving you for the fees and maintenance. They've all gone up. Last two pages, or last page or two. Right here, there you go. There's page one of it,
okay, thank you.
Larry, page two of it. Those are everything called repetitive fees that have received huge increase.
So it was just straight across the board, everybody increased.
Right. and if you remember with the insurance piece, that had gone up,
Yeah.
so we had to include that in there. But it seems like anything you get a bill for is increasing by
Right.
10% or more.
At the-
Yeah, okay. Jump ahead, sorry.
All right. If this is for. The decrease, vehicle maintenance and repair for newer fleet of vehicles, because we'll finally be getting rid of that really old one that's costly, the 2016, as it was.
Yeah, it's 2016.
Just decrease that accordingly. We also had a decrease in the lien, which is, because we went through the county grid, we're going directly to the state calendar reach. With technology.
Did you straight across 5% on, other than your officers too? Was it straight across 5%?
If you go to the next sheet there, it shows myself, lieutenant, sergeant, and then the level 1, 2, and 3 on the top portion there,
Mhm.
and then that middle portion is at the actual officers that we have and what level they're currently at.
You call also for the audience, back a couple of years ago, why we became 10% was probably my fault behind, meaning that we're fortunate we are not, we're not a union shop. And so what happened was during COVID, when they were negotiating Zoom and otherwise, a lot of these municipalities feel they needed this pressure, recruitment and retention and those things. They reduced their salary schedules from 5 years to 3 years. And I did not know about it. So ours were 5 years, which was another detractor from working here in years, because 3 years is top pay with these other governments that I guess negotiated that away when it came to non-benefit fees. And so we're now, we fixed that to level 3, which means that officers get to top pay quicker, mostly because they're gonna take them from you if you don't, in today's market. So that's what you mean by level 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Question? Question? Anybody in the audience have a question?
No.
Can you-
I'm so
I
sure.
gotta have you stand up, give your name so she can find it.
Robert Janowski. Yeah, I'm not, so that's 5% wage increases
Correct.
a year or?
Yeah, that would be for
For the
the,
2025, 2026 budget.
I'm not so sure, the officers are gonna leave, I mean, call it God's country out here for a
oh,
reason.
they do.
So whoever would wanna leave here, go to Rochester. Oh, no, believe me, what happened to Rochester, we all know. I mean, I would never be an officer downstate.
Well, when we did our wage study, we didn't choose departments down there to compare our salaries to, just because they are more. And we stuck with the northern departments to try to keep it, so we're right there and comparable with the northern departments.
I just want to make sure the number was clear.
Thank you.
See a hand. This one doesn't
I just
look-
want to clarify a comment you said about repetitive fees, maintenance. It's been named that forever. It's more a maintenance of those annual subscriptions. for the
Okay, so it is
softwares.
more, just the.
It's specifically for those items listed, which are, most of them you'll see are subscriptions.
Right, right.
Software subscriptions, subscriptions to the state for the different web portals and stuff that we have to belong to, so. It's more of a maintenance of that.
Yeah.
Larry, you got any? Okay, Shel,
Good.
last call, there you go.
Good.
Good, thank you very much. Then, thank you, Chief. We'll take this into consideration. We will let you know if there's anything we're uncomfortable with. If we have time to really work through it. And we'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fisher, you're up. What's that? Okay, I can help you out this time. I won't. Well, better write the things down, right? Okay. This guy, I don't have any suggestions. No. I would stay on my side.
I expect now, though, you should.
I like it.
So the packet I gave you has a number of things in it, just want to go through those real quick. The top one is my budget for this year and the planned budget, proposed budget for next year. So we'll go over here shortly, but below that, we're gonna be also asking for a pay increase, next year for our staff. And then, the compensation schedule is what I put together. It's a document below the first one, maybe the second document in the packet. Stuff like that, and they will all look like spreadsheets, but this one here. It says, Gary Township Fire and EMS Department 2024, 23-24, but it's, got the fiscal years over to the far right, it says 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, 28, you see that? So that's the compensation schedule plan we put together for the next 3 years. We'll just talk about, this next coming year. But if you look at the 25, 26 column there for pay increases, I expect in the next couple of years that I will be moving on and somebody needs to replace me. So I think that the chief's pay needs to be brought up a little bit, so it's desirable by the members on our department or folks from outside the department that might be interested. So we looked around, did a, compensation, compared to other agencies of similar types of agencies, and, we think that that increase there will be adequate to make it interesting for somebody. And then further down the line, it talks about the career firefighter EMTs and the career medic firefighters as well. And instead of doing a percentage increase for those folks, we decided to go $1 across the board, which comes out to a percentage of below 5%. But the reason we did that as $1 across the board is we didn't want to increase the gap between EMT firefighters and medic firefighters. Right now, the difference between those two jobs is $3.50 an hour. And the medic firefighter has quite a bit more training, quite a bit more responsibility when it comes to patient care, and it needs to be different, but we don't want it to get much more different than it already is. And we've compared that to other agencies to see where they're at in that difference, and find this is pretty similar to most agencies like ours. So you'll see that dollar increase and what it comes out to as a percentage. So for career firefighter EMTs, it's 4.8%. And for medic firefighters, it's 4.2% for next year. Okay, and then looking out the next 2 years, you can see what my game plan is for the next 2 years to bring their pay up to comparable with similar agencies. The rest of the compensation schedule, the paid on call folks and the officers' pay and that kind of stuff is all staying the same. The page below that looks like this. That's where I took all the pay from our full and part-time staff, put it together to come up with the total pay for the line item we're gonna go through on the expenses column in the budget. Okay, so that takes in regular hours, vacation time, sick time, and stuff that we have to cover that way as well. So that gives that number. The next paper in there is this one that is the green, the column on the top, and this is where we did the compensation comparison with similar agencies. It was hard to find a lot of similar agencies that have the staffing model that we have, where we have advanced life support along with a fire department in this part of the state. Central part of northern Michigan doesn't have many departments like ours. We're really lucky to have that. We either have an EMS service that's separate from the fire department that does advanced life support, or you have a private company that does advanced life support. So I had to reach out a little further. So up north of Traverse City, in those areas up there, Leelanau County, Sutton Bay, those kinds of areas have that. In Roscommon County, we are the only advanced life support service in the northern part of the county. The other three advanced life support services, the one in Richfield is a public safety department. The one in Denton, the ambulance service is separate from the fire department, and in Holton Lake, the ambulance service is separate from the fire department as well. The other fire EMS services in this part of the county are basic fire services, not advanced, as you're probably all aware. So looking at this compensation comparison, the dollar figures I put in for our department are the top dollar figures 3 years from now, if we go with the plan that I put together.
Oh, the top. Which ones? Across the top?
Across the top, where it's
In the salmon color?
the green and the salmon, yeah.
Green,
So
salmon.
the green is current,
Okay,
our current pay. The salmon color would be the pay 3 years from now if we go with the proposal for the 3
so it's
years.
going nowhere.
Hmm?
Going nowhere then?
Yeah, it's gone up, so firefighter EMTs over the 3 years are gonna be about $7,000.
What about just EMT is what I'm talking about?
Where are you looking?
Right under green in the upper corner, there's
Upper left?
upper left.
Oh, so you're looking at that, so that's our paid on call folks. That's not our full-time folks, sorry.
Thank you.
Yep,
Let me.
where it says EMT only.
Yeah, let me make that.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yep. So that's our folks that are not full-time, are not on the schedule, but come in from home, and we have those kinds of calls that come in for the second ambulance. But the other dollar figures there are for our full-time staff. and part-time staff.
So paid on call, even for your medics. When you take a look at it, they're much less than council.
Yeah,
So in other words, you're trying to draw people from that top to top too, because you're how many dollars low in pay?
well, that's paid on call, that's not.
Paid, that's what I mean.
Yep. So we're not gonna draw paid on call people from that.
You won't, okay,
Because they're too far away and we can't
Too far
respond.
okay,
There. But they can be part-time.
that's what I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so part-time is different than paid on call.
okay,
So paid on call is kind of like what you consider volunteer.
Yeah.
Response from home. Part-time folks staff a shift. So they might be here for 12 hours or 24 hours covering the shift. So that's kind of the separation there.
thank you.
And our part-time folks, we have the 5 levels of pay for our full-time folks. Our part-time folks work up to the 3rd level of pay, and that's what they get paid when they're on shift. They don't get paid the same as our full-time folks, they get paid a little bit less.
Got it.
Right? Any more questions on that, or? Okay.
That for me.
The next 3 documents are, schedule for replacement of capital equipment, replacement of EMS equipment, and replacement of fire equipment. And we looked out, I'm looking out into, the 2040, 2050, I have no idea what stuff's gonna cost in 2040. But I've got to get some kind of a plan, we have to have some kind of a plan for a replacement schedule. And this is, when we look at the budget, you'll see these line items, and there's gonna be quite a bit of money in some of the line items, because we have to buy a fire truck eventually, or we have to buy an ambulance eventually. So we have a schedule of when we think that'll happen, and when that time comes up, we'll reevaluate that truck and determine if that's what we really wanna do. For instance, in 2022-23, that fiscal year, we spent $130,000 on a fire truck refurbishing it instead of replacing it. If we would have replaced that truck, it would have been $350,000. And next year, we should be looking at our second ambulance to be replaced, which is our oldest ambulance, estimating that at about $300,000. But I think we'll be looking at that and determining if it's really time to replace it or not, if we can push it back. Or if we want to just re-chassis it, keep the box, get a new chassis and just clean it up and spend a little bit less money. So hopefully some of the things we'll be thinking about, but we have to plan for replacing it. And you can see that schedule for the next, 20, 30 years there. So that's why we put $80,000 a year into capital equipment, and we have a savings account there to cover that. And right now we have a little over $500,000 in that account for replacing trucks. EMS durable equipment and fire durable equipment is the same philosophy on how we're managing that. And then how much money we're putting into those accounts to make sure we have money available to buy things like heart monitors that are going to cost us $60,000 a piece in the near future. And we have 2 of them, those kinds of things.
I have a question on capital equipment. You do like 80,000 a year, but in 22 and 24 or 25, it's 100 or 120. What's the difference?
So I had a pretty good carryover this last year, so I'm putting an extra $20,000 into that line so that, we have that there. Fire trucks now, the most recent truck we replaced was our main engine that was 11 years ago. That was $450,000 for that truck. Talking to manufacturers now, it's twice that. It's almost $1 million for that truck. So
Crazy.
if you look down the line, eventually, if we replace equipment on this schedule, eventually I get in the red. So we have to find a way to increase that line and not get into the red down the road. Some of that is how we determine whether we're really replacing a truck or just refurbishing it. Others is if we have a little bit of money available, we can add it to that. Or eventually we're gonna have to say, we're not putting 80,000 in there, we're putting 100,000 in there every year. So that's where we're at right now. Any other questions on that? Okay. Want to go over the budget now?
Sure.
So the first document there that we talked about is very similar to what Chief Mazinski put together for you. The top line items are revenue. And the first line item is what we anticipate we may carry over from year to year. And then the next line is an estimated, income from property, from taxes from our millage. And our millage is 3.03, and we'll bring in $1,170,000 from that right there. And then the next lines are where we have charges that we invoice people. We take somebody to the hospital, if they're a citizen of the township, we do not bill them, but we do bill their insurance company. And so we do get reimbursed from the insurance companies. We also get reimbursed from folks that don't live here in the township and don't pay taxes here, and we go pick them up, say at the state park or on the road or something like that. We bill them and their insurance company, and then whatever their insurance company doesn't pay, we bill the individual. So our anticipated revenue there is 96,000. This last year, we brought in a little over 100, about 104,000. So we are estimating a little bit low, because you just never know how it's gonna go. So that's where that's at. Fire charges are very similar. One of the biggest reimbursements for fire charges is consumers energy when we go out on power line calls. We've gotten pretty good at billing them now, and they're a little faster coming out when we have a call to replace us instead of us sitting out there on the power lines. So fire charges are there. Intercepts is when our advanced life support ambulance goes outside the township and helps another agency that's a basic life support service. We bill that EMS service for that, and so we do get reimbursed for those services as well. Interest, as Eric talked about, and anticipating interest from our savings accounts. I estimated quite low compared to what we brought in this year. But if we spend some of that money and we buy a truck or anything like that, we're not gonna have that interest. So I'd like to keep that low, and if we have more interest in that, we'll carry it over and put it back into capital equipment or something like that.
Well, and who knows where this is going
Right.
for interest. Are we seeing a structure down in front there?
By the end of the year, right now, it's pretty stable.
Right now, but at the end of the year, we anticipate our interest on our money going down. Yeah, so that.
Yeah, so I think we gotta keep it down there a little bit.
I mean, the banks are offering CDs now at 4.7, it used to be 5. And if you look at the duration, it goes down all the way through 5 years. So this is kind of like the peak of the year, but it's gonna start sliding.
Very good. I like a lower estimate.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Especially there. Then the next 4 line items are those capital equipment and fire EMS equipment and capital projects, which is facilities. Those are basically our savings accounts for those things. And we carry a lot of money in there because our trucks cost a lot of money and our equipment costs a lot of money. So we have $1 million pretty much sitting in there for purchasing the next truck, purchasing the next large piece of fire EMS equipment. So we don't have to raise villages and take a loan out or any of those kind of things. So. And it earns us interest. So that's good. Any questions on the revenue? Okay. We're going down into expenses. Paid on call, run, standby, special projects is the first line item there, and that's if we have folks coming in outside of their normal shifts. We have volunteers or paid on call folks coming in to help with projects or coming on runs. They get a small stipend for that. We talked about what EMTs and medics make at $17 an hour, $19 an hour for paid on call. That's comes out of this line item. So if they're coming from home and they're coming to a fire or call, then that's where they get paid out of. The next 2 line items are full-time folks, our full-time EMT firefighters and our full-time medic firefighters, and what their salaries will be for the year. And that's based off of that schedule I showed you, where I calculated all that out with vacation time and sick time and all that. One of the things that we are incurring, we have incurred this past year is we don't have a lot of EMT firefighters available to fill shifts, so we're using medic firefighters to fill shifts because we have to have a medically trained person on the ambulance. And so it costs a little more to have a medic on shift. So what we saw this year is our medic line got hit a little harder than our EMT line, so we had to adjust a little bit there. We are working on trying to find more EMTs. We've got, one trainee right now in place. She's coming along, and if things work out, we'll be putting her on part-time shifts, and that'll help, alleviate some of that. Overtime for our full-time folks will be next line in the benefits. I did bump that up, as Eric talked about. We have to plan for all 7 of our full-time people to take the benefits, but we also have to account for the increase in costs of benefits. And then 2 of the police officers help us with fire, and they're trained that way, and they have a stipend for participating in training and being available there. So there's a stipend in there for those folks, and then chief salary and benefits. One thing I do want to talk about here under chief's retirement, I think that line item is a carryover from years ago when we had the first full-time chief, and we didn't have a lot of other full-time staff. So that was a chief's retirement line item. I would like to actually move that in with the retirement line item for all the full-time employees and get rid of that line item. It's easier to track and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, the same, elected officials. So, in that little line, I stored that. Maybe that's all about right.
It could be.
Police combines theirs, right?
What's that?
I say police combines theirs all together. Thank you.
And
then some.
Over here.
It'll never stop. It'll
I'm
never stop.
dropping over there.
So the things in red on this line item are things that have changed from last year, from this year's budget to the proposed budget for next year. So under public education and training wages, I bumped that up. One thing is because some of the wages have increased, we're increasing wages, but we're gonna be, one of our goals is to improve that, improve public education, improve training. And so we'll be doing more of it, I hope, next year. And some of that will get reimbursed for. So public education, for instance, we're in the core technical program where we're teaching high school kids about fire EMS stuff. Core reimbursing those. So we get reimbursed for that as well. If we teach a CPR class, we sometimes get reimbursed for that if it's outside the community here. If it's in the community and it's for public service stuff, we do not charge our time for that. But if it's for a business association or somebody else, the groups from outside the township, we go on for that time. And then the FICA and retirement, all that, I had to bump that up along with everything else. But the rest is pretty much the same as this year. Not much has changed. Are there any questions on the rest of that? I did bump up the utilities a little bit for 25, 26 if we are able to build a building. I don't know what those utility costs are going to be right now. It will be a bigger building, but hopefully it'll be more efficient. So I don't really know what to expect there right now. So I did bump that up a little bit just in case that happens.
Yeah, that insurance piece will be a big chunk too.
Yeah, I noted that, on the second page, that we may have to increase the insurance part of the new building.
I'm glad to see between both departments, police and you, that you're not having to do anything with millage as far as to be able to stay competitive with wages, that you're able to incorporate that into your budget. That's huge.
See. I don't know, chief. Did they put any warnings out on encryption for public safety in the future radios? Have either one of you heard anything about our fire EMS side on this encryption piece? I know police 2029.
I've only heard it for the police.
Okay.
And my understanding was just because of the relief portion of it.
Is that yours?
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
Okay, very good. I just want to make sure about your radios and things like that.
And the radios are working to both my fire and EMS equipment, replacement stuff, and that's a pretty well scheduled, pretty happy to cover it.
Any board member, Michelle, any question in particular? You guys do a great job.
I was just gonna say, I look forward to the day where our township
We're gonna get there.
does this well.
Stand by it, stand by it. It'll look very similar.
Anybody in the audience or anyone wants to come down afterwards and talk about this or the building or anything, I'll be glad to do that.
Mary Jo, any questions?
No questions.
Larry? Nothing further on the board end. Does anybody in the audience have a question or?
Robert Janowski. Okay, so, you know, I keep hearing all these wage increases, and then immediately after that, I keep hearing that's to attract better people. Okay,
Keep people too.
well, attract, he just said attract, and say that's plans on retiring. So I have never seen a township, and this township is like, everybody is bumped up. You're never gonna you're not gonna pull a chief in from another county or another station. You're gonna raise one and you're gonna replace his position. So I hate hearing that. I really do. Same with the clerk, everybody. There's nobody running for that position. So there is no, you know, attract more people in. That's always, that drives me nuts. Okay, let me ask this question. Okay, does the pensions, let's say the police chief or the fire chief, are the pensions based off the prior, have anything to do with the wages that they left at?
They all would, it's a 10% of whatever the township's contribution is. 10% is their defined contribution, not a defined benefit program. So it's not a MERS program. It's not what you call defined benefit, where you reach an age and you reach years of service and you combine them together, and then they send you a monthly check. They're a combination of a 401A, which is the 10%, and the 457, which is the employee's contribution into that account. And when you retire, you have to maintain essentially your own for your checks to come to your mailbox. So it's defined contribution. And yes, they're always based on 10% of the base wage, no overtime.
Okay, because in Shelby Township,
Mhm.
I watched it happen and it sickened me.
Yeah.
The fire chief and the police chief
Mhm.
bumped their wages up, and guess what? Their retirement bumped up by 20,000 as well. So that's a really nice goodbye
Yeah, they do.
that they gave themselves.
In the defined benefit, that you see that frequently, it is the combination of either your last three or your highest
Right.
three.
So
State does that, all those others, ours are not.
Yours are.
predicated.
No.
Yeah, ours are not predicated. A long time ago, for 42 years that I've been here, we looked at defined benefit. But we always went with a defined contribution because simply put, you budget 10% on your payroll lines. And there isn't any of this pyramiding, which is what you're discussing. Pyramiding your pay and your overtime, which you see frequently in public safety contracts in unions. So no, there's not the,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, again,
No, you don't.
I asked the question because
Sure,
I
absolutely.
wanted to know. That's a very important question. I've seen it happen,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and like I said, it drives me batty. I mean, with you getting a raise, okay, that's fine, you know. I may need your help someday, so I want the best. But I don't like you to say it is, to attract more people, because you're gonna bump somebody up.
That's not true.
Let me address that, because I do the payroll, obviously, so I see what my employees get paid, and at least 3 of my employees get paid more than I do.
Absolutely.
And so, my two assistant chiefs, who I expect will probably want this job, or hopefully will want this job, probably make more than I do. So.
Right.
So. I want it to be attractive to them as well, right? So, yeah.
No, I watch wages and sometimes I ask why, what's it like to make more than a supervisor, and I say, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I don't get it either after the end. Look at them.
Believe me, I know what
Archaic job descriptions are horrible. It's determined by the state and the Michigan Township.
For 10 years, I've been watching your wages, everybody's wages, and I got books when I'm watching them. I'm not, I watch them. I mean, not that there's
Mine's a labor of love at this point. You can take your living.
Well, it would have-
A lot of money it is, and-
anybody that takes a police job.
I would like to address that real quick if I may. My name is Mary Ellis, my husband is Officer John Ellis. So I can tell you, I know personally far back, Garrish Township has lost several really good officers just within the last 10 years who've gone on to either Border Patrol, some have gone on to work for Roscommon County. And it is extremely competitive. In fact, I know there's several from Roscommon County who've left recently to go work for the state police. So even though what you said, nobody's going to believe God's country, some may, but you don't even have to, because there are a lot of opportunities right here with other townships. And it costs a lot more to train a new officer. And if you're looking at a money situation, it costs an awful lot to pay officers overtime, which they have to do when we are down an officer. And we were down an officer for quite a long time before my husband came on. How long was it? 3 years. 3 years. They were short an officer. That's an extreme expense in overtime pay.
Right.
So you're so much better, and with any business, it's so much cheaper if you could just retain your employees than to lose them and try to train new ones and to be short. So and this isn't from a millage, this is coming right from the budget, it's budgeted right in. And it truly is a necessity to maintain the staff.
Thanks.
You're,
Also, Robert, I can tell you that I had numerous people wanted my chief of police down from outbound in the state of Michigan. I can tell you that. I actually went to the township board and said, you need to tell me, are you entertaining people with them or going out? So it is a highly competitive thing. I don't care what you're doing. I don't have the exact statistic today, but I can tell you during COVID, and I only have that as a point of reference because it was COVID, okay? Somewhere around 2018-20, we were down 4,000 policemen in the state of Michigan for jobs that were available versus those that would be going into the academies. There were 17 regional academies and one state police academy, obviously, that conservation used at the same time as well. All of those academies were struggling to graduate 6 to 8 people when their normal complement was into the low 20s. And so we seriously struggling. And then shortly thereafter, like anything else cyclical, it started going to the ambulance services. COVID abused public service terribly. There was no plans for it, obviously. We were living in it, nobody cared, and we had to learn on our own. There were some members of these communities that died during that time, and you take that, all of the perfect storm that everything's going on in the world, and you've got a recruiting retention problem that is the #1 issue in the United States right now. Just came from a conference, and there was a speaker that is a national speaker that speaks to leadership and those things, and it is the #1. So the problem does become, if you want to keep people here, we've got to be competitive. Notice I didn't say $20 more an hour. We need to be competitive. Benefits need to be competitive. All the things that they could turn around and walk across the street and get. And by the way, with a bigger department, you get a better schedule than you get with a small department. Small department, when one person calls in sick, it's pretty egregious. You don't have them for the holiday or weekend, you got real problems. And you say, well, maybe you should just hire more part-time people in the law enforcement environment. The trouble is, the amount of training, continuing education credits, it's just cost prohibitive.
The other thing I just want to touch on, really, he talked about the recruitment and retention. The state currently has a program out there for a sponsorship through the academy, which we've used it for our last 2 officers, which has been a real helpful thing for all departments across the state. Right now, it started out at $20 million and they're looking at it being depleted by the fall of this year. And they're not sure if that money is gonna come back to continue on to try to recruit, what happened to law enforcement. And that program was very helpful, with the recruitment and retention. So, and a lot of departments have saved money with that program also.
I agree with promoting within, I mean, because, you know.
I do too.
Okay,
It's
so,
the best thing.
I mean, look at you know, you've seen what happened to this township from the other side of the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm hoping you're gonna fix it. I don't wanna see you at Matt's every Friday at 9 o'clock till 11.
It'd be 11. Be 11 for diabetes, but yeah. The other piece to that is back in 2012, there were 618 police agencies in Michigan. There's now 573 agencies. So there's an attrition process going department-wide as well, as this whole thing rolls out, so. Any more comment? And anybody want to make a motion?
I can make that motion.
Okay. No. Sorry, work by further improvements, any further discussion, board? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say. Thank you. Good questions. I appreciate it. Good question.